Johnny mentioned earlier that I wear several hats. So the Hudson Valley Startup Fund, the Hudson Valley Venture Hub with Chris Backus, which we'll get to in a few minutes, and then GSEN, the Global Center for Social Entrepreneurship. And there's a common theme amongst all those, and that it's really all about the entrepreneur ecosystem, which is really the topic of this entire webinar. And going back to the story of the Startup Fund, it's also about plugging the gaps. I mean, how do we make the ecosystem more vibrant, healthier, growing, more startups, more funding? And back in 2015 timeframe that Johnny mentioned, there was no active angel fund or network in the Hudson Valley. There was Orange County Angels and Dutchess County Angels. They both folded in 2008, Great Recession. So there was no funding locally here. So that was a gap that we needed to plug. And I think we've successfully done that we've been now operating for four more years with the Hudson Valley Startup Fund, as Johnny mentioned. Another gap is the Venture Hub, which we'll talk about in a minute in terms of connecting up the ecosystem. It just wasn't getting connected. And then the gap that Danny just mentioned, which is accelerators. Up until last year, 2019, what was missing was accelerators in our ecosystem. And Danny was the first to plug that gap with Excel 7. And then this year in 2020, Ossining Innovates launched an accelerator, and GSEN is launching the Evergreen Accelerator. So just a minute on GSEN. We have been in operation as a nonprofit since 2016 with a primary focus on developing curriculum on social entrepreneurship for college students and for adults. And we've delivered that in the form of 1-week intensive boot camps. We've taught it. Johnny and I have taught the curriculum at SUNY New Paltz in the School of Business. It's in the form of a 4-credit internship at Vassar College and in several other colleges. And we're about to launch a pretty major program on the adult side called Social Venture Experience. But a new initiative with GSEN is Evergreen, plugging that accelerator. And we wanted to emulate the most successful accelerators in the country. So we partnered with Generator, which is a top 15 ranked, US ranked accelerator out of University of Wisconsin-Madison. So we've licensed their method. They've been in operation now 8 years. They have run almost 200 companies through their accelerator process. So we're happy to have a partner like that. On the screen, you can see a quote from Michael Schumann. One of the things we want to do, it's kind of our tagline, is accelerating local economy. And one of the ways that we need to do that is to ramp up the money and mentoring. If you ask most entrepreneurs, and hopefully there's many entrepreneurs on this call, what your primary needs are, a pretty common answer is we need money and we need mentoring. And the Hudson Valley Startup Fund was a great start. We've got probably $2.5 million in the process of being invested, probably about 1.8 million of that invested already. But we've got 62 total investors in the Startup Fund, Fund 1 and 2. And then there's Westchester Angels, probably another 30 to 40 angels there. So we've got 100 angels investing. But in the Hudson Valley, there has to be thousands of accredited investors. So we're just scratching the surface on what's possible in terms of deploying money, kind of taking it out of Wall Street, where it's sitting in a Fidelity or Schwab account, and investing it in startups like Lesson B and like Simplecast. And in our case, you'll see, Johnny, you can switch to the next screen. We're going to have two funds with Evergreen. One is a high growth fund. So what you heard, the stories with Simplecast and Lesson B, those are examples of high growth companies that grow very quickly, have national scale, maybe even global scale. So we're going to have two types of cohorts there. One cohort is focused on companies that have manufactured products. Our first main focus area is going to be water solutions, and then we'll expand out into other mostly sustainability kind of industry areas. And then other cohorts that don't have to have manufactured products. Our first on that side is Poughkeepsie Go, in the initial stages of working that, where we want to attract startups out of New York City and have them co-locate or relocate to Poughkeepsie and create a kind of a startup hub in Poughkeepsie. And then what's kind of unique is we're also launching a small business fund to help small businesses that aren't high growth and don't expect an exit. So we're working with a team on Small Business Beacon and also with Lori Ostrovsky on Hudson Valley Women in Business, which is a network of 3,000 women business owners in the Hudson Valley. So with these two funds, the High Growth Fund will be about a $12 million fund. The Small Business Fund will be about $10 million. You get a sense of, $22 million. It's really ramping up that level of money and mentoring. The accelerator model brings 100 mentors to each company that's in the cohort. So it's really a very efficient model for delivering money and mentoring to companies that are in the accelerator. Go ahead, Johnny. And where'd the Evergreen name come from? Mike Caslin, who's the founder of GSEN, tells a story going back in history of the Catskills getting clear cut. And what was happening is a lot of the silt was running down into the Hudson River, and they realized this is a very destructive thing to do. And there was one patch in the Catskills that wasn't clear cut because they couldn't get to it. So that part of the Catskills was considered evergreen. It was never cut. So that concept of trying to create sustainable companies, like even in the case of Brad with Simplecast, we helped along with other investors, but a tremendous effort on the Simplecast team's part to kind of get it to the point where it was acquired. But now it continues to exist and sustained within SiriusXM, taking it to the next level. And there also happens to be, you can see from the picture, there happens to be an evergreen mountain in the Catskills, which we didn't know about until we were like, oh, this is a cool name. I wonder if there's a mountain in the Catskills named Evergreen. So you're looking at it right there. So if you're a hiker, it looks like a nice, easy hike to go up Evergreen Mountain. Go ahead, Johnny.